Hey, this is Jason Malott. I'm the author of Adam is God, Eve is Us, Strange Stories about Aliens, Angels, and the Love of God from the Book of Genesis. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is Chapter 4, Sympathy for the Selfish. This is my chapter where I get into some of the ideas and stories about this weird creature that people talk about in the Bible called the devil, Satan, whatever you want to call him. I kind of go into a little bit about the origin, where this whole idea came from, and what the Bible says about it. One of the things that I mentioned that a lot of people are a little confused about, Satan is not mentioned a lot in the Old Testament, but Satan is mentioned. And the word Satan, or the Satan, Hasatan, it means like the adversary, the enemy. And John in Revelations ties the serpent in the garden, the snake that was in the garden, to this fallen creature called Satan. Now, I know when you read the Bible, you'll say, okay, well, it talks about a talking snake. And that's, for some reason, that talking snake loses its legs or feet and has to go around on its belly. And it's weird. It's confusing. And it is that way because in English, we don't really understand some of these Hebrew concepts. Whereas a Hebrew, or a person that reading Hebrew back in the day, would have absolutely saw that what the Genesis 3 story was talking about in the fall. Let me go into that really quick, and then I'm going to go a little bit into what I'm seeing here. So in Genesis 3, you have the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, and God had told them that don't eat the tree of the knowledge of everything, both good and evil. So it wasn't just the knowledge of good and evil, it was everything. It was basically a tree that you would choose to make up your own world, good and evil. You would almost be like a god of the world, in a sense, your own god. And God said, don't eat that. Stay away from it. Now, he also said, in the day that you eat it, you will die. One of the interesting things a lot of people point out is like, wait a second, God said the day that these guys eat this, they'll die. Well, here's something interesting. Adam lived 930 years. And when you read in the Bible about God's concept of time in the Psalms, as well as later on in the New Testament, it says that Peter writes this, a day is like 1,000 years to the Lord, and 1,000 years like a day. So Adam died before a day in God's time. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, because Adam died 930 years later, which is less than 1,000 years. And if 1,000 years is like a day, he died on the day that he ate it. That's why I see it. Now, the serpent is speaking to Eve and Adam in the garden. Now, when Adam and Eve they're both together. People try to make it out to be like, you got this serpent wrapped around a tree somewhere talking to the woman, and then she goes and takes the fruit and brings it to Adam. No, they were both there. It's very clear that he was standing there the whole time that Eve was talking with the serpent. Now, the interesting thing is the first words that the serpent, or that you hear the serpent say, or the devil, is, has God said? He's questioning. Basically, do you really think that God said these things? Now, something I want to point out, a lot of people think that the devil was some, I don't know, he was an angel of some sort that fell in some way past time before the Garden of Eden. No, I read in Ezekiel, I read a story in Ezekiel 28, referring to some supernatural thing they call the Prince of, I think it's Prince of Tyre. And you got to understand, in the Bible, it always refers to demons and devils in actual places or destinations. Even Paul uses the term principalities and powers and might and dominion. So you have this story of this creature that was perfect, that was in the Garden of Eden. Everything about this creature, it says, was perfect. It was beautiful, and everything was perfect until the day that it decided to sin. Now, I believe that Satan fell in the garden. He was originally put there to protect. He was a guardian cherub. That's the word that's used. And a lot of people misunderstand this word cherub. Please, if you have ideas of angels being tall, woman-looking people, or little babies flying around, no, angels are terrifying. I want you to understand that. Just read the first chapter of Ezekiel. You'll see angels. When they show up, usually people are freaking out and they have to say, hey, don't be afraid. It's cool. It's cool. Because angels are terrifying. But this angel was beautiful and terrifying, serpent-like. The word it's used there is nakish, which it's three consonants, and those three consonants can mean either an adjective, noun, or verb, and depending on how you use it. It can either mean a deceiver, a basically a necromancer or deceiver. That's the word that's used. Shining, like a shining one, like brass or something that just illuminates or reflects back shining. And the interesting thing about when you read the story, you see all these different elements that are involved in this serpent. Now, I believe that he fell in the garden, as Ezekiel says, and he decided that he wanted to be the God of this world and trick Adam and Eve into following him. Now, the thing about this is this creature's at the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Is it possible that he had eaten it before they did? So when he says you won't die, I mean, he ate it and he didn't die. That's a possibility. Something caused him to fall in the garden. Now, I don't want to get too much into this because I do want you to read my book, because there is so much interesting stuff in this chapter about the devil. Not just the origins, but also his final destination. Can God eventually redeem even the demons and devils? I don't know. C.S. Lewis thought you could. I don't know if that's true or not, but I can see that eventually God does redeem everything, the reconciliation of all things at the end of time. So when I read about this devil, this demon, I don't just see some silly little snake. I think it was a dragon. I think it was some big, powerful, amazing-looking dragon. And that's the way that, because the devil can appear how he wants. Paul said he appears like an angel of light. So he can appear however he wants to. In this situation, when he appeared to Eve, because he would have had arms and legs, because part of the curse was that he'd lose those. So he'd go on his belly and eat the dust. And that is a total separate eating the dust and how men are made of dust. That's a rabbit trail I don't want to go on right here, because I only got less than 10 minutes for this video. So make sure you get a chance, pick up my book, read this chapter. If you're interested about the story of Satan, I go into the beginning, how you see that he was chosen of God and perfect, one of God, the height of God's perfection. And as somebody like that, I can see how possibly you could become jealous of these creatures, that these humans that God had made, that were basically on a higher level than these angels, because Hebrews says it. The woman who wrote Hebrews says that we're, as sons of God, we are higher than the angels. So you can see that there would be jealousy, because this angel was perfect. He was beautiful. And also, he might have ate the fruit, because, he decided he wanted to be his own God. The other thing I want to say is, a lot of people say, well, why? What was the purpose? Well, you see that in Ezekiel and Isaiah. Isaiah talks about this same thing, about this fallen creature named Lucifer. You see in Isaiah, it's pride. But then you see in Ezekiel, it says, from the abundance of his trade. So you have wealth or capitalism and pride. These are the reasons why the devil fell. Now, I want you to think about those things in our lives, and the things like this where we get prideful, or we love money so much we neglect to pay attention to all the people that we're hurting or bringing about pain to by ignoring the fact that there's a world of people out there that are a lot less fortunate than us. And if we're getting our wealth by evil means, if we're not appreciating the workers that work for us, or our employees, if we're not treating them right, if we're not paying them right, then you're just getting alongside of this weird creature named the devil or Satan, because that was his deal in the beginning. He wanted to take advantage of people. And it says in Genesis 2, it says in the land of Eden, it says the gold there was good. That's the same word tob, which is used when he talks about making all the light, when the light, let there be light, and the first day in the land, it was good. That whole thing, it was good. It was good. And then he made humans, and it was very good. But when he talks about the gold in Eden, he says it was good. So there was gold there. What does that mean? I don't know. You have to check it out for yourself. Get a hold of my book, Adam is God, Eve is Us, Strange Stories About Aliens, Angels, and the Love of God from the book of Genesis. Come to you again with another video, and thank you for listening.